Leading a startup team, whether you're delivering a sugar rush, stocking coffee, or getting a regular delivery of snacks, Office Depot has solutions that fit every startup culture, from getting those first business cards and stationery to ordering fleece pullovers with your new logo. To learn how Office Depot and the California Technology Council have partnered to bring you savings on all of these startup essentials and more, go to californiatechnology.org/member benefits. I'm Daniel Levine, and this is the Bio Report. The emergence of smartphones at the center of a growing universe of digital health devices is giving rise to new ways to monitor and measure our bodies in real time. MyDx, one of the latest entrants into the area, is working to enable consumers to test the food they eat, the water they drink, and the air they breathe to ensure they're safe. Its first offering allows cannabis users to analyze samples for THC content, the presence of pesticides, and their potential effects. We spoke to Daniel Yazbeck, chairman and CEO of MyDx, about his handheld analyzer, how it works, and how he expects it to both enable and be fueled by the changing consumer behavior in the emerging world of the quantified self. Daniel, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We've seen a lot of excitement over digital health devices and the power being given to consumers through their smartphones to measure and track and monitor a growing list of real-time indicators of their own health. MyDx is an interesting entry into this area with its analyzer, which analyzes things before they go into our bodies. Can you explain what MyDx is?
Absolutely. MyDx is also referred to as MyDiagnostic. So it's a handheld chemical analyzer that works with interchangeable sensors and for different applications. So we have it's an analyzer. It's about the size of two iPhones stacked together. It fits in the palm of your hands. It connects via Bluetooth to your smartphone device, and you can put a sample in the sample chamber. And I'll talk about what kind of samples we can test in a second. And then you can really push measure with your app. It will turn on the system, and in about 3 minutes, you'll have a breakdown of the chemical profile of that sample. And it will also ask you follow-up questions like, how did this sample make you feel after you put it in your body? So the things we test for are the following. We will be testing for pesticides in the food you eat, chemicals in the water you drink, toxins in the air you breathe. And the first application we've rolled out, which is currently on the market, and it's been selling since August of last year on our website and more recently in retail stores, is the Cannabis application, and that tests for the broader chemical profile of cannabis samples and associates those with feelings and ailment relief for patients. So a patient today or a cannabis consumer today can put a sample of cannabis in the sample chamber in our device. They put about 50 milligrams in there. They close it. They analyze with Bluetooth through their smartphone, and in about 3 minutes you'll have a breakdown of the broader chemical profile of that cannabis sample, including THC, CBD, and other chemicals called terpenes, and then it associates those with a feeling. Actually, we use our algorithms today to predict a feeling of how this sample should make you feel, or what it should help you relieve before you purchase it or put it in your body, so you're no longer the test subject. And we do that by crowdsourcing a lot of data of other consumers who've tested samples and they've said it works this way, or yourself, you've tested samples using your MyDiagnostic, MyDx, and you've tracked the samples in your app and it recognizes, well, this chemical profile helps you feel happy and energetic and it relieved your pain. So this new one you're testing should make you feel the same way, or it should make you feel more paranoid or lazy. So we try to associate everything we do with a chemical profile and an associated feeling or ailment relief that you get from that environment or for food. You'll see the same thing with pesticides. You can test the spinach from Vaughn's or from Ralph's or some other, I don't know what stores you guys have in your local area, but and then you can start seeing a trend on, who's really providing more pesticide-free, organic compounds or spinach. So this is the essence of what we're building, and these are the markets that we're targeting.
What was the thinking in developing MyDx? Who is it for, and why is it needed?
So essentially, if you think about the quantified self movement, today people want to be empowered to really detect, just to know, to trust and verify what they're putting in their mind and body, and that's the mission of our device. At the time, the genesis of the device was the cannabis industry, because there was no quality control in the cannabis industry. There was no way for you to know what you're buying, what you're putting in your body, and why it's affecting you in different ways, because there's so many different types of cannabis flower that you can intake, and they all make you feel differently, and they work in different ways, and there was no real way to help you find a strain that works for you in a scientific way, meaning test the chemical profile, because every single batch of cannabis crop is grown differently. Even if it has the same genetics, it's going to have a different chemical profile. So there was only one way that this was going to be done, is to look at the broader chemical profile using something like MyDx and associate it with a feeling and start tracking, so that you can get to the core of everything. So cannabis was the genesis. Now, when we learned that there was pesticides on cannabis, and a significant amount, actually, of pesticides were being used, and people were inhaling them through their lungs, we started researching a lot more about pesticides and realizing, this was a few years ago, realizing how bad they are really for you from all the studies we saw. And then we, it expanded very quickly into the fact that, we can also look for these pesticides in other markets, like the Dirty Dozen fruits and vegetables. Then we realized pesticides were seeping into the water supply that we're drinking. And so that led to us expanding into the water vertical, Aqua DX, and the Aero DX, which is the air quality index. I mean, our technology is really it can detect any chemical we essentially, nearly any chemical we essentially program it to detect. So really, the evolution just expanded there, where we added some IP to the technology that we licensed that allows you to detect chemicals in solids, liquids, and gases. And to that effect, we went to the broader scope of looking at everything we drink and inhale. A combination of the cannabis as a trigger, learning about pesticides, and then bringing it all together with the technology that created MyDx as it is today.
Walk me through how it works. What happens once you put a sample into the chamber?
Sure. So you essentially grind a sample of cannabis into the sample chamber, and against the rim of the sample chamber, you close that sample, and then you insert it. It creates a sealed system that leads. We have a pump that's turned on when you push start. That pump will suck the chemicals from the sample chamber into and across our sensors. Our sensors, the technology is electronic nose technology. So it acts similar to your nose. Your nose has a lot of sensors in it. A dog's nose has more sensors and more sophisticated, interpretation that they can do with those. And so they can sniff out chemicals much more sensitively than we can. Similarly, we've digitized the process of what you sniff and recall. So the chemicals flow over the sample, from the sample to the sensor, and you have 16 different sensors on our sensor. So each of those sensor pads on our sensor react differently to the different chemicals. They're actually functionalized to bind the chemicals we're looking for. And based on that binding affinity and the chemical reaction that takes place between, let's say, THC and sensor pad 1 and THC and sensor pad 6, and then CBD and some other chemicals, we can then interpret the signal based on something we've done in a lab before using a gold standard. So we would take GC or HPLC gold standard reference database that we've built. We tested side-by-side MyDx sensors, and then we put it in the field, and we use algorithms really to tie it all together. So it's really, we're testing for a pattern across our sensors, and then we do pattern recognition to interpret that signal.
What is the range of samples you can analyze with the device?
I'm not sure what you mean by range, but I mean we can test any cannabis flower that's out there.
Right, but water, food,
Oh, yeah. So
air.
so so currently it's only cannabis flower. That's what's on the market. But we are developing the inserts to test for solids, liquids, and gases now for the Aqua Aero and Organa sensors. So air definitely you can test today. You can put a liquid in our sample chamber, but we haven't developed the applications in the algorithms to detect chemicals in any specific liquid at this time. And we can measure spinach, and sniff that out and then recognize it. But on the other side, as we develop applications, we'll be rolling them out. And the key for us is simplicity, right? So you got to be able to just connect, sample, measure. And that's the essence of what we're doing. You connect with Bluetooth, you add a sample and push measure, and then you get a result. So, and we tell you why you should care, in terms of the chemical breakdowns and why you should care about each chemical. So it's an educational process at the same time.
And will you need different chips to analyze different types of materials?
That's correct. Yeah, you need different sensors. You can insert into the device, and they're interchangeable sensors to analyze different materials.
Are there any consumables such as reagents?
No. There is a consumable, the sample, the disposable sample insert, but you don't have any reagents or liquids or anything that you add. You simply add the cannabis flower and then you test that. But you do have to break it up to expose the chemicals and the trichomes of cannabis flower really that's in there, and so that will aid in the chemical extraction process with our negative pressure that we apply.
How accurate is the device compared to traditional laboratory techniques?
So we have a white paper on our website that breaks down the accuracy for each of the chemicals that we're reporting. For THC, we're within 20% error of whatever the gold standard GC is. Now, the industry itself, in terms of cannabis industry, has different labs report different results, because cannabis is a very tricky molecule to accurately identify the specific chemicals. And we talk about this in the white paper. Just because of the intrinsic variability with cannabis flower, you can take something at the top of the plant or at the bottom of the plant, and they'll have completely different profiles because they were exposed to sunlight differently. And so sampling is very important there. But that said, based on the experiments we've outlined and we've done up over 1,500 tests to compare to GC for THC and CBD and other chemicals, and we report those on our website. So for THC, we're within 20%. CBD, we're not very accurate yet. Closer to 50% accuracy. On CBN, we're getting close to 75% within GC, and some of the terpenes you can go to and look up those chemicals as well. So it really depends, but we are accurate in terms of looking at the broader chemical profile and tracking and looking at that compared to others, because as much as you can look at the breakdown of the chemicals, the total chemical profile of cannabis is what's more important, because different chemicals modulate the effects of other chemicals, and they work synergistically. Like myrcene upregulates THC intake into your bloodstream, and so if you have more myrcene, so there's an entourage effect, and Sanjay Gupta talks about that on CNN when he talks about cannabis in his weed program, is the entourage effect. So we look at it as more of a broader chemical profile. So even though we're not 100% accurate on the breakdown of THC and CBD, we encompass what the consumer really needs to know, which is the broader chemical profile. And we report a variety of chemicals. And until the industry establishes better standards for accuracy, we say we're only as accurate as our reference database, which is our reference lab.
How sophisticated do I need to be able to use the device or interpret its results?
It's actually fairly simple. So in terms of usability, right, and as long as you have a smartphone, you know how to turn on the Bluetooth on your smartphone, you should be able to connect to the device easily. It's fairly robust from that perspective. So you'll see the device and you'll just choose it, and then you put a sample in there. That's very simple. You just grind that in the insert, and then you push measure. Now the results that come up, it will give you a feeling screen that says this should help you relieve the following symptoms, and this should help you feel this way, and then you adjust, and you say, well, actually, it didn't make me feel this way, it made me feel this way, or didn't help me relieve this. So you can say, you can make those adjustments by just tapping your screen. And then you can go to the content tab of the app, and it breaks down the chemical profile. It just says THC is this, CBD is this. And so it just gives you the relevant information. If you want to dive in and look at the sensor response, you can scroll down and look at other areas. But it's fairly simple. You just simply save it or add a sample name and save it, right? So we keep it as simple as possible.
How's the device marketed and sold today?
So we have 3 channels of distribution for the sale of the device and marketing. So the first is the grower market, the manufacturers, right? People who grow cannabis flower. They can buy it online on our website, or we have an exclusive distribution agreement with a company called Nanolux, and they expect to sell close to 10,000 units this year for us in that market alone. So we have that channel. We have for dispensaries, we have they're also another channel that we're marketing to. Dispensaries want to know what they're buying and selling. The growers want to know what they're making, so they want to be able to make it, print a certificate of the product that they've made, and help brand their product. So the dispensary wants to know what they're buying and selling to their patients, and so they need this device, and we're marketing to them. And then the consumer wants to know what they're putting in their body and how to find a strain that works for them, and so they're buying directly online on our website. So those are the 3 main channels. We also have 7 regulators or self-proclaimed regulators who bought our device, and we're not actively marketing to regulators. We're focused on our 3 main targets right now, and at some point, regulators want to track seed to sales, so this might become interesting for them.
And what's the expected rollout for future chips?
We expect to have our next sensor out this year, and then we're going to follow up in 2017 with the 2 additional sensors to complete our mission.
And what would the first sensor do?
We haven't made the formal announcement yet. We have it ready to go, but it's going to be, I'll tell you, it's going to be either Organa or Aero, and then stay tuned for the one that's going to come out. But we haven't made the formal announcements yet of exactly which one it is. We want to surprise the market on that. So stay tuned. But the 2 markets that we're focused on actively, and aqua is definitely going to be in 2017, not sooner. And so Organa, obviously, pesticides in the Dirty Dozen fruits and vegetables. We're going after 3 main pesticides linked to cancer, as reported by the WHO. They're diazinon, malathion, and glyphosate, which is found in Roundup, the number 1 pesticide used in the world today. And those 3 compounds were linked to cancer, as per the WHO report in March of last year. So we decided to focus on these 3 and focus on the Dirty Dozen fruits and vegetables. So just to narrow the scope so we can get a sensor out there people can actually start using and leveraging. That's Organa. And then the aqua is going to look for, volatile organic chemicals that are found in the air that could be harmful, especially for allergy sufferers or COPD folks who suffer from that. So, and just to make sure you have a clean air environment in your home at all times. So looking at temperature, humidity, and it's out there in terms of these types of sensors. But we are making that an interchangeable sensor in our unit. So just to give you a heads up, Aero will most probably come next, and then Organa.
How's the company funded to date, and are you planning to raise any additional capital here?
We are. We're always raising capital for growth. We're operating on a thin budget at this time. To make sure we try to become profitable as soon as possible. We're a publicly traded company under ticker symbol MYDX. So feel free to visit our website at ir.cdxlife.com and just to learn more and learn more about our company and our financials and everything else. But we're always looking for investment. So if anybody's interested, they can contact us as well at info@cdxlife.com and we can look at some of those options, or they can just buy our stock.
What do you see the future for this type of analyzer? How do you see the applications expanding or people incorporating it into their daily lives?
Well, I think, again, going back to the quantified self-movement, we wear the Fitbit now. We want to check our heart rate at all times, our calorie count. I think this is really part of this movement of quantified self and kind of empowering yourself to to test everything before you buy it or put it in your body. And really, this is the first of its kind device that's ever gone out to do that. So this is, we feel, the MyDx analyzer will be an indispensable tool, especially as we add these other sensors to it in terms of detecting, quality of water. Look at Flint, Michigan. I mean, that's just it's crazy. We should be able to trust the municipalities to take care of our water, but unfortunately, these days we don't know anymore if organic's organic or whether the water we're drinking is good enough to drink. So we believe once we hit those two markets specifically, this will be an indispensable tool for consumers to make sure they're healthy and they stay healthy, and to find out really what chemicals they're putting in their body, because I strongly believe a lot of those links to what's happening to us today is as a result of the chemicals we're putting in our body.
Daniel Yazbeck, Chairman and CEO of MyDx. Daniel, thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening. The Bio Report is a production of the Levine Media Group. To automatically download this podcast each week, subscribe to our RSS feed or through iTunes or other podcast manager. To join our mailing list, go to levinemediagroup.com. We'd love to hear from you. If you want to drop us a line or are interested in sponsoring this podcast, send an email to danny@levinemediagroup.com. Special thanks to Jonah Levine, who composed our theme music, and the Jonah Levine Collective, which performs it.